Okay, and this is the second of the AE training, and in this one we're going to get a little bit more complicated and trying to do some animation with a voiceover. And this is probably the most likely scenario when you're going to need to animate, when you have a story that you don't have visuals for, or it's very difficult to visualize, but you think that you need to explain it with some kind of animation. So I've got an example for you. If you double click again in your new project, just open up a new project and double click there. We're going to go to story number 2 now. This movie here will give you a quick introduction of the kind of thing that you might want to do.
Sustained progress in raising the standard of living of its
But you can do something, as you'll see, a little bit more, a little bit different, or everybody can do it in their own way. So we need to bring in pick and VO. Just select those two and bring them in. And as before, we need to create a new composition and make sure it's the right dimensions, 1920 1080 square pixels. That's all good for me. You can see I've made this view a little bit smaller here. You'll see why in a minute, but I can fit for now. But down here, as with Premiere, we can change the view we're getting. That's not the size of the actual movie, but just how much of the canvas that we're seeing. Okay, so bring the voiceover down. The voiceover is a voiceover that I've recorded of a story about China's rural poverty. I've just dragged that down into here. Now it's about 3 minutes. It's way too long at the moment for you guys. So just drag that down to about a minute. Probably is enough for you to start with. You might want to do just 30 seconds, in fact, is enough for you to just start to animate. So this is just an experiment for you, again, to feel confident. You've got to write the voiceover and record it first to be able to do this. And then here we've got some pictures that we're going to use. I'm going to start with just dragging the map, because this is a story about China. So I'm dragging the map over and dropping it this time on the canvas. Now you can, as we did before, you can drop it down here onto the layers, or you can drop it onto the canvas. Now this one's too big, so I'm going to change my view down to 25% so that I can rescale it. And click in the corner there, press the Shift key just to make sure I don't change the perspective. And that's about right there. And I'm going to drag this off to the right hand side. And with it, I'm going to add a little bit of text. Just going to write China here. So again, so I'm just copying that. I can change the font if I want to. This time I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. A little trick here with the font size. You can just drag and drag across on the font, and you can make it bigger or smaller as you like. That's good. And I'm going to change the color as well. So it's black at the moment. I'm going to make this red for China. Okay, and then over we come here and just put that onto the China. So I'll just play a little bit of it here, and you'll be able to hear the audio that goes with it. And I'm going to try and do some animation in this area here off to the left hand side to indicate some of the things that I'm talking about. So again, we're going down here to the RAM preview.
Over the past 3 decades, China has made sustained progress in raising the standard of living of its rural population.
Okay, so that's the first bit I'm going to do. And what I'm going to do now is press Shift and 1, and you can see it's going to put a little marker in here for me. So that's the first animation that I'm going to do. It's going to be up to that point. It's going to be from the start up until that point, and then I'm going to do one more animation a little bit further on. Let's just play it out, and I'm going to put the second point in a second.
Over the past 3 decades, China has made sustained progress in raising the standard of living of its rural population.
That's the first one.
Using China's previous definition, the number of people living below the poverty line in rural areas declined from 250 million in 1978 to 27 million in 2010.
Okay, and that's again Shift, and this time I'm going to put 2 in, and that's my second point. Now I might want to put some more points in there so that I can illustrate things that I'm saying as it comes along. But for now, this is all I'm going to do, and I'll let you play with it and make it as long or short as you want. Okay, so I'm going to drag this back to the start, and now I'm going to start to put some elements. So if you remember, the first point that I say is over the past 3 decades, China has reduced its poverty. So I want to illustrate that, and to do that, I am going to use this box that I've got here, and I'm going to drag that in onto here. Again, this is a little bit too big, so I'm going to come into the corner here and on the shift key. So let's go back to it, drag it there, and then the shift key is going to drag it down. Now what I want to happen is I want this box to slowly go up to indicate that they're making progress, and then I'm going to have the decades on the right hand side. Now to do that, I need to first come up here and select this pan behind or anchor point tool, and with that I can select this point in the middle and drag that down to the bottom. Now the reason I'm doing that is that I want, as I expand this, it to expand from the bottom upwards. If I don't do that, that anchor point, it will expand from the middle upwards, so it will do this sort of concertina type thing. Okay, so that's now done. Now I need to make the expansion happen. Now, like in Premiere, what I'm going to do is to come to the box here, come down, click on the box, go to the transform, and I'm going to go to scale. Okay, so I'm going to click on the scale, and that's going to start this off. So as I drag across here, you can see it has put in here a little point that's going to tell me that is where I'm going to start from. I'm going to go to the number 1, and I'm going to at this point drag this down. Oops, let me go over to my selection tool, and it's going to come down to here. Now that will now automatically come down. Unfortunately, I've done that the wrong way round. Okay, so I'm going to change it now. So from here, I actually want it to be very low. So let's go back down, but because I have this down here, and then as I come up to this point here, I just click on this point and then bring it up. Because I've got the timer switch on, it's recording everything I do and it's going to remember it. So now I've got it in the right direction. So as it's going to play, up it's going to go. Okay, so all I need to do now is to go over to my text box here, and I'm going to change the color to black, and I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Let's bring that down a little bit, and then I'm going to click in here, and I'm going to say, so we're going to start at 1980. Let's bring that down. So that's where our starting point. Okay, I've done that one. I'm going to do another one here for 1990. Again, I think you get the point. I'm going to put that in about a quarter of the way up, and then add another one to 2000, and again select that and bring that a little bit further up, and then let's go up to 2010 for the last one. And I could easily just click around and just reposition these slightly till I've got a nice looking thing. Okay, now all I need to do here is I've got to make sure, let's go back to here, that I'm going to finish it at the right point. So let's just bring this down so I can see the whole of my timeline. Now I'm going to bring that down so it finishes there. Now it's important to note that my voiceover is about 3 minutes, and you probably don't want to do it all just at this point. So I'm just bringing these so everything is going to stop at that point where I hit the point at the end of this particular bit of voiceover. And again, this one down here. That's my box. So everything's going to stop there. I'm going to come up a little bit and have a look, see how it looks here. Okay, for some reason this one's gone a bit out of sync with the others. It doesn't matter, as long as it's in at the right point when it finishes. Okay, so we're just fine tuning here. Okay, so let's just play that out. Doing the rendering.
Over the past 3 decades, China has made sustained progress in raising the standard of living of its rural population.
Okay, so you can see it's just sort of finishing, not quite. I might want to trim that off and make sure everything is nice and exactly on that line, and use the snapping tool to do that. Okay, so from that point, when I get to here, it's going to disappear, and I'm going to start the next animation where I'm going to talk about poverty going down. So in this case, I'm going to do something slightly different just to give you an example. So I get to this point here, and now I'm going to bring in this arrow. So I come in and drop the arrow in. You can see it's a little bit big, so I'm going to rescale it again, come into the corner, with the shift key down, make that a little bit smaller here. The problem is that poverty is going down and not going up. in the way that my arrow is pointing. So I'm going to need to come over here, rotate it, and switch it the other way around. Okay, now I'm going to do it slightly different. I could do exactly the same as I had done previously with just changing the anchor point and just making it smaller, but I want to do something different with a mask, which is another way of creating this effect. Now you can see here that this is now starting too early. Now that's going to go, and then that's going to come in. Now what I want this to do is to slowly go down in this direction. As I said, I could do that with the anchor point, but it's going to look a little bit strange because this is a shape. So instead, I am going to create a mask and put a mask on top of it. So to make a mask, with this selected, and with my selection tool, I can go and create a rectangle, and this is now going to make a mask that is going to come over my arrow. The mask, once it's on, will completely hide the arrow, and you can see it's created a new layer here on top of that. Now for the mask, what I can do now is again start here, which is where I want it to start. I want it to end here. Is that I can press the little timer button on the mask path, and then I can change the shape. So here it's there, it's fine, and when I get to here, I want the mask shape to come down. So to do that, I need to click on the mask and then bring the mask shape down like this. Okay, so if you play this, you can see now that is going to go in the opposite direction. And then I can start animating by adding text and other things to it to show the different years. That's all I'm going to do for now. Again, if I wanted to export it, I would go up and add it to the render queue as we've done before, and then just send it out. But I think at this stage, what you should be trying to do is to take that animation, listen to the words, and start playing around with the words and enjoying yourselves and creating something that is quite unique, and everyone should have something that's different. But more importantly, that you're going to feel a little bit more at ease with using After Effects. And then you'll be able to start applying it to your own projects. Okay, so we're going to go on to number 3 next, where we're going to get just that little bit more complex.